Hey lovelies! Welcome to Truth Bombs and Hot Flushes, where midlife gets real, raw, and unfiltered. Today, we're talking divorce, a subject very close to my heart. I think I've walked this journey with not only family members, but friends as well. And boy, is it a journey. So today, we're joined by the beautiful Kooveshnie. She is a mum to three amazing little souls, radiographer by profession, CEO and owner of Kmed Radiography, motivational speaker, a huge inspiration, in my opinion, to so many women. So, Kooveshnie, it's an absolute honor to have you here today. Would you like to tell our viewers and our listeners more about you?
Hi Chantal, I'm humbled to be here. Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm just Kooveshnie. Not a lady that's going through a bad divorce. I'm somebody who just experienced the challenges of life and is trying to figure out how to rise above it.
Ah, brilliant. I just have to say thank you again. I know your schedule is quite hectic and juggling kids as well as your career, and to make the time for us to be here today in the hot seat, or should I say the uplifting seat. We really appreciate you. So yeah, let's get stuck into it. I would think, can you take us back to the specific moment? I don't know if there is a specific, but where you had this light bulb, come on, and the blinkers were off and you realized, I think my marriage is over.
So Chantal, there wasn't a real specific moment, I say. The marriage was basically chipped away over time. But the birth of my son, my third born, changed my view on life completely. Being a boy, watching this relationship play, I think I realized that this is not the image I wanted him to remember, or not the cycle that I want him to continue. Also, for my girls, it was so important for them to know that this is not how a woman should be treated. So it was up to me to make the choices that could lead them to a healthier version of love and what a relationship should look like.
Oh, 100%. I think me being a mum to boys, I think it's so important that the role that your spouse plays is so important, because they're going to be husbands one day. And even with your daughters, they're going to be wives one day, and you want them to be treated well. So yeah, I absolutely understand where you come from with regards to that. I know there's lots of red flags in dysfunctional relationships or marriages. Sometimes we choose to see them, sometimes we don't. In your opinion, did you see any red flags earlier on in the marriage or relationship that maybe you ignored, or were you completely blindsided?
So there were lots of red flags. I chose to ignore them because we grew up in an environment where we're taught to see the good in people. Also, looking at those Hollywood love stories and the Bollywood movies that we grew up watching too, I wanted my version of it. So I chose to ignore all of that and just try and find that story.
Yeah. So, no, I absolutely get that. I think red flags surely are there, but you want your happily ever after. And listen, I think when kids are in the situation, you want to do your utmost best to maybe also just not see those, because hey, we're a family, and I can do this. I can troop on. But I totally I get the Hollywood and Bollywood movies. Gosh, we've all grown up with that version of what marriage and a relationship should be. But I guess it's all not sunshine and daisies, and we're all not running from one tree to the next, and just in a musical. But with that being said, I think fear and guilt, even shame, does sometimes play a role in, do I stay or do I leave? Did you find yourself in that situation where you were too ashamed to leave? Or what really played the biggest role for you? Was it fear or shame or all together?
It was a lot of fear, a lot of fear. It mostly because I was unsure of the unknown. I did not know what the future would hold for my kids and myself without having a partner to be there for us.
So I know we have been conditioned, coming from an Indian background and community, you know, the societal constraints and demands and pressure that we go through. So what can you say in your opinion, from your childhood, that you gathered that taught you or molded you into who you are, like, or how to react to conflict and love? Because we are told we're women, we're wives, we're mothers. You just get going. You get going, whether you're mentally depleted, whether there's emotional abuse, whether there's physical abuse, whether we've thrown an affair in there, but we just toughen up, develop turtle skin, and get going. So for you, how did you navigate that? Like, yeah, how much did your childhood actually?
So growing up in that kind of environment and the age that we did live in, emotional safety was a taboo word. Speaking our emotions was taboo. So as you say, we had to just sweep things under the carpet and move on with it. That played a huge role because affair after an affair, I just swept it under the carpet, tried to figure it out, but I was slowly becoming an empty vessel. It was breaking my soul.
Yeah.
And that was the challenge that forced me to make different choices.
Yeah. No, for sure. And gosh, you know, the more I hear your story, the more I'm like, you are a powerhouse in your own right to have actually released all of that and said, no, it's my time.
Yeah.
It's time to put this away, and I'm not going to be taken for granted anymore. I have a voice and it's going to be heard.
Absolutely.
So I sit here getting goosebumps just listening to you. So when I say you're an inspiration, you got to understand that not even women that are going through divorce, you're also an inspiration. I'm sorry, not as a woman going through divorce, but you're an inspiration to me. So yeah. I'm going to give you 2 pats on your back for that. So yeah, with regards to your upbringing, I know our mums and grannies, and let's be honest, we never really heard so much about divorce, or even if we knew there were affairs and whatnot, but we knew but did not know, right? So with regards to that, what patterns can you say did you notice from your childhood upbringing showing up in your marriage, in your reactions to certain situations?
So early on, watching my granny, watching my mom, as women, we learned to be submissive. We have to just, accept what's coming our way and submit. So being submissive to whatever that I was experiencing was not easy. That was one of the major highlights that came up, and I have a little bit of a feisty spirit in me. So fighting that and saying no, I'm not standing for that, is where the challenge and the disagreement came in.
Because I'm sure then you became the disobedient wife.
Absolutely, yes.
And
I'm not grateful for what I have.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it. But remove all the materialism out of everything, and you standing there empty. Your cup is empty, but you have to be the obedient wife because you have everything, in their opinion.
And that's exactly where I was.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us how much of who you were in that relationship or marriage was actually shaped before you ever met your partner?
I would say in that relationship, I became so much of the reflection that I looked at of myself was not who I knew Kooveshnie to be. Being in a relationship that I would say is toxic changes your view of life, changes who you are, and you eventually become somebody that you are not. So I grew up in a household that is very strict or very strong with integrity and character. So constantly dealing with issues that challenge that, especially in infidelity, that was the hardest struggle for me. You know, really pushed my boundaries and pushed me to look within and bring that out. So that part was the most important for me. It's going back to that grounding of who I was and what I was taught, and what this is bringing for me is not aligned with that.
And I think we can so like when and you guys have been married for ages, so it's not like, you know, you're just getting to know each other. It's a divorce after a year or 2 years. You know, there's so much of history, but as years go on and who you were, you slowly kind of deplete in a way from who you actually are, your being, and you find yourself kind of just conforming to what the in-laws want, what my family wants, what my husband wants, what my children need. And then we forget there's Kooveshnie in there as well.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's very easy to just sink into that and be comfortable with it, because it's too much of energy to fight that, you know. But yeah, so like looking back, do you think you were responding to your partner, or were you just reacting to like old wounds?
So it was an opportunity to deal with a lot of old wounds. I realized that I was responding in a big way. As a little girl, there was a point in my life where I lived with my granny. So that's where issues of abandonment had come up. You know, I understand that the decision for me to live with my granny was done out of the best interest for me, but I could not help the way I felt.
For sure.
So constantly feeling let down, you know, cheated on, not being supported, just kept adding salt to that wound until it was raw and bleeding. So it was very difficult for me. And eventually I realized, okay, Kooveshnie, you got to save yourself now. You got to, you know, just be your own hero.
100%.
So that pain can subside on its own.
In time.
Yes.
And I think when you start speaking about it is when you realize, hey, you know, that can be a thing of the past. And I'm all the more better for all the little, you know, wounds, and because we tend to also just plaster it up. It's just, we put a plaster, oh, there's a scratch there, we'll put a plaster. The scratch becomes bigger, okay, we'll bandage it up. Before you know it, you're completely bandaged and suffocating, you know. So yeah, hats off to you for seeing that, and well, it's made the Kooveshnie that we have here today, so that's brilliant. I know we also question sometimes when we're in situations, is this about them, or is this actually about me? And so it's I don't know if it's like a safety net somewhat, because you don't want to face the reality of, no, it is actually them. But you again come in with how our minds have been conformed from childhood. Maybe it is me. So have you felt that way?
So there was a point when my life was threatened, right? And that is when I woke up the next morning, and that feistiness that I told you about me, it's like, how dare you decide that whether I get to live or die?
Of course.
So every morning I wake up with a sense of gratitude that I'm grateful for another day to be alive, and I get to rewrite my story the way I wanted it to be. So it was very empowering, as much as that left me with huge trauma. You know, I get to look at the world with different eyes, and I get to live it in the way that's aligned with what God has for me. And I'm grateful for it.
Oh, lovely. Absolutely. I'm also taken aback by having your life threatened. I think that is a massive wake-up call. Because it's like, no, I will take my stand. I will not just sit down and take this, you know. And I think it gives you an inner fire that is just...
That fire is burning brightly.
Oh, I can see it. I can see it, and I'm loving it. I'm loving this version. So I think we all kind of have our own survival strategies when we go through something life changing, or even just in general in life. So, what survival strategies would you say that you actually clung on to, and where do they actually come from?
So the separation happened during COVID, during that lockdown period. So I was alone at home with my kids, with a little boy that was like less than a year old. It was very difficult. So finding myself through that and having a lot of solitude, that I didn't realize was the blessing in disguise, because I got to strengthen my relationship with God. I got to use that to feed my mind with positivity. I got to spend time envisioning what the future I wanted to look like. So, yeah.
I think, no, that's brilliant. Yeah. I think, yes, solitude. We kind of knock off solitude a lot, yes. But because we don't want to be, we are afraid. We don't want to be alone. But you realize when you actually are alone with your thoughts, great things happen.
It's powerful.
Great things happen. And yes, when you bring in God, and I know it seems like so cliched, no, cling to your prayer, cling to God, but it's actually important. It's so important and empowering as well, because I think it gives you the confidence to go like, I can do this on my own.
Somebody's got my back.
So that's it.
Somebody's listening.
That is absolutely it. So yes, well, guys, that brings us to the end of our first segment. If you would like to hear more from Kooveshnie, coming up in our second segment, please do like, share, follow, and subscribe on all our social media platforms. Truth bombs and hot flashes, where midlife gets real, raw, clearly unfiltered.